Michaelia Cash has now stepped up for that media conference. This is in relation to this Twitter storm this morning after a federal Labor MP tweeted derogatory remarks about Julia Bishop, saying she was a bimbo, and about the Tony Abbott as well.
And
here's
sexist
Michaelia Cash.
Comments made by the member for Bendigo, a Labor member for Bendigo, Steve Gibbons, who has tweeted that the deputy leader of the opposition is a narcissistic bimbo who is not fit to be the deputy leader. These comments are completely inappropriate and they are offensive. The Coalition today is calling on the Prime Minister of Australia to publicly condemn the comments of her member and to take appropriate action. It is the Prime Minister herself who has set the standards of accountability in relation to this type of behaviour. It is the Prime Minister who said, "I will call out sexism and misogyny wherever I see it." It is the Prime Minister who said public officials, public members should be held to account for statements that they have made. Well, Prime Minister, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning and I have to say I've yet to see you come out and make a comment in relation to this behaviour. I would also expect that Julie Collins, the Minister for the Status of Women, will be issuing a statement condemning Mr Gibbons' comments. I also expect that Tanya Plibersek will later today be condemning the statement made by Mr Gibbons. If the government, and in particular the Prime Minister, fail to take action in relation to Mr Gibbons' completely inappropriate comments, it will confirm for the Australian people once and for all that when the Prime Minister talks about sexism and misogyny, it is merely done as part of a concerted campaign to undermine the Leader of the Opposition, Tony Abbott, and it actually means nothing to her. Any questions?
The Prime Minister says that the comments are offensive. What else would you expect her to do? Does she need to go further than that?
Absolutely. She needs to take whatever action she deems appropriate. It is the Prime Minister who has labelled Mr Abbott for certain comments as a misogynist. The Prime Minister is now faced with a dilemma. She doesn't want to take action in relation to one of her backbenchers, and she needs to. If nothing else, the Prime Minister should today call on Mr Gibbons to stand down as the Deputy Chair of the committee that he chairs and to forfeit all benefits associated with it. The Prime Minister should also come out in the Parliament today and publicly condemn the comments that have been made by one of her own people.
Senator Cash, it's a pretty strong comment to ask him to stand down from a position. Should the same standard be applied to anyone else who makes misogynistic remarks?
The Prime Minister herself has set the standards of accountability in relation to this type of behaviour. This is all about the Prime Minister and what action the Prime Minister is going to take today in relation to behaviour that she herself has said is inappropriate and has labelled sexist and misogynist.
You're saying that Steve Gibbons should stand down for these comments.
I believe he should.
Do you apply that rule to every other member of Parliament then?
All members of Parliament should be held to account for their comments. However, in this particular case, this is a test for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the person who has said, "I will call out sexist and misogynist behaviour wherever I see it." Well, Prime Minister, this is a clear example of what is sexist and misogynistic behaviour. Call it out, condemn it for what it is, and then, as you yourself have stated, you need to take action and hold Mr Gibbons to account. The Coalition is watching, I assure you, to see exactly what type of behaviour, what type of action the Prime Minister takes, because depending on the action, again, it will show whether or not the Prime Minister is truly serious about her comments or is merely part of a smear campaign against the Leader of the Opposition.
How would you compare this to comments made by Liberal Senator Cory Bernardi that got himself into trouble in Parliament earlier this year?
Cory Bernardi was punished by the Leader of the Opposition, but again, this is about the Prime Minister today. We are focusing on the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has set the standards of accountability and responsibility. This is a test that the Prime Minister now faces. I myself, as the Coalition spokesperson for the Status of Women, as I'm sure many people in Australia are today waiting to see whether or not the Prime Minister herself passes her own test.
Should Julia Bishop explain exactly when she had her first dealings with Ralph Blewett?
I haven't had a chance to speak to Julia Bishop in relation to that meeting, but I will say this. This is a very convenient diversion by the Labor Party. This is a much broader issue of integrity in relation to the Prime Minister, and I think it's the Prime Minister who needs to continue to explain.
diversion when the coalition has pursued this and day after day she's asked question after question in Parliament? Isn't it fair that we then ask questions of when Julie Bishop has spoken to Ralph Blewett?
Again, I have stated I haven't had the opportunity to speak with Julie Bishop. This is clearly a diversionary tactic from a government that is on the run and does not want to be held accountable for the actions of the Prime Minister. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so that was the Liberal MP Michaelia Cash calling on Labor MP Steve Gibbons to stand down from his committee position over a tweet he sent out this morning. Senator Cash says it's a test for the Prime Minister. If Mr Gibbons won't step down, then the Prime Minister should ensure it happens.